In this video, I want to show you how you can utilize drums from different rooms within this expansion library and stack them for creative drum mix results. So within the Rooms of Hansa expansion library, we have 4 different rooms that drums were recorded in. The kit here is from the vocal room or the vocal booth, so it's going to be a very dry sound. Let's take a listen to the default setting. Which is a great sounding kit and a really dry sound. Works very well as is, but what we're going to do is stack on additional drums using the stacking feature of Superior Drummer 3, but we're going to stack drums to leverage the sounds of the other Rooms of Hansa. Now to do this, I want to actually go to the Mix menu. We'll go under Tune Track, and we're going to use the A Bit Dry Comp preset. So we get a little bit of a different drum arrangement here. And if we take a listen to our mix, so I like that mix, but I actually want to go back to my original drum selection. So we use our part preset drum kit menu to do so. And the reason is I like this configuration of drums, and especially this fat sounding snare drum. So let's get started stacking drums from the other Rooms of Hansa. Let's start with the bass drum, and we'll go to More, Add To, Open. So this is going to create a stack on the bass drum. And I want to use the Meisterstall Custom Vintage. Nice big bass drum there. Now, depending on the volumes, you might want to level match a bit because these were recorded in different rooms. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit, and we can hear what it sounds like together. Now on this one though, I really like the punch and attack of this bass drum. So what I'm going to do is use the envelope and just bring back the attack a little bit. So we're using it more for the tail or sustain of the drum and not so much the attack. That way we get the attack from the original drum in the vocal booth. Next, we'll go to the snare drum. We're going to add a snare from the Meisterstall room, and we're going to add this Peisty snare, which is a snare using alloy from the actual cymbals themselves. Now, I really like this one because we get a really ringy snare along with a really fat and dry sounding snare. So that's a nice combination. We could do the same thing if we wanted to. If I wanted just the ring of the snare drum, we'll pull back the attack on the envelope just for that second stacked snare. And I love it. Even with those 2 changes, we have a completely different drum sound, much more roomy, of course, because we're using the big room sounds of the Meisterstall, but we still have the essence of that original drum mix in the vocal booth. Now let's continue on with the toms. We're going to say Add to Center, and this time let's use the twin shell toms from the marble room. We'll bring down the volume a little bit. And a lot of times when you stack toms, you can hear a little bit of that dissonance. That's easily solved just by pitching down the stacked drum. Should be able to find a nice sweet spot, but you can fine tune as you want. In fact, I can do shift click and make some additional adjustments here if I need. And of course, if I wanted to, I could do the processed algorithm. We'll do the same thing for the floor tom. Stack, we'll do the twin shell from the marble room. Bring down the volume just a little bit, and let's check the tuning. I think that'll work just fine. Let's take a listen to what we have. Sounds great, but we're not quite done yet. One thing I want to bring to your attention is to always go into the mixer whenever you're doing stacking. You want to make sure that you've enabled any of those stacked instruments in the room mics you're utilizing. Otherwise, you're not getting the full benefit of stacking, like in this case, from those other Hansa rooms. So I'll go into each and every channel, and let's jump to the overhead mono, where here you can see everything is highlighted. So this is the overhead channel that is used in this preset. If I say edit stack, my stacked kick drum in this case is not turned on. I want to make sure I enable for each one of these. Now, a couple quick tricks here is for the rack tom, for example, if I turn it off and back on, then I will turn both on, both the original drum and the stacked drum, when I enable that bleed. So that's a quick way to just enable everything. An even quicker way would be just to select from the drop-down menu and say enable bleed from all instruments, and that's going to enable everything, including the stacks. Now let's hear what we have at this point. Sounds great. If we wanted a little bit more room, we could leverage this kick, snare, and overhead channel. So we have our actual stacked drums going through those, not everything else, but if we want to, we can enable all bleed in those channels as well. So just for reference, here's where we started. So we'll go back to a bit dry comp. This is the original preset. And let me change my drums to the ones we are using here. And don't forget, we can still leverage additional effects in the Superior Drummer 3 mixer, or take what TuneTrack has already done in this mix and adjust it. For example, this bit crushed distorted comp channel, we can add more or less of that if we would like. Which actually sounds pretty nice with the room sound that we're pulling from the other Hansa rooms. So the sky's the limit. We could keep going with this, but just wanted to show you a way that you can leverage stacks in Superior Drummer 3 to bring in the sound of not only the drums in another room, but the actual room itself. It's especially unique in the fact that we have 4 different rooms within this Hansa expansion library that we can leverage. So we can use a drum configuration in one room, bring in instruments and room sound from other rooms for endless creative possibilities.